Rumors going around are that Black Widow and the rest of Disney's Marvel titles will be introduced first through Disney Plus or at the same time on Disney Plus at home, that it's going to be in movie theaters. This article covers some of it. There are several other articles I think that work together. You can kind of see the picture that, yeah, Disney's going to do this. I'll explain to you why. Before I do, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. It's a huge help for me. And also, if you want to support my work, collegeofthedead.com, you can get a copy of College of the Dead Graduation Day. It's an ongoing zombie apocalypse series. And sign up at epicmermaids.com for The Mermaids, an ongoing Game of Thrones with mermaids type series. It's going to be very cool. You will see. On the email list, you'll be notified when it comes out. Back to the article. This is coming from MovieWeb. More big Disney movies rumored to debut on Disney Plus, but so far Black Widow isn't one of them. Yeah, well, not just yet, but take a look at this. Ever since it was announced that Disney's next big budget remake, Mulan, will be debuting on Disney Plus after a long and losing battle to be screened in theaters, fans of upcoming Disney movies have been speculating whether other major films produced under the banner of the Mouse Empire might soon be following suit. According to a tweet by Verge's Julia Alexander, the likelihood is very high. Quote from a Disney Plus source, Ari Chapek's comments on Mulan being a one-time deal. We've put in enough work that it's not a one-off. Yeah, they have to do a lot of work to establish, like, hey, the release is available. This is not the old Mulan. This is the new Mulan. They have to do a lot of communicating. They have to let people be aware that there's a pay-per-view on Disney Plus. They have a huge success with Disney Plus. They've got like 60 million members on Disney Plus now. That was like their 5-year goal, and they've accomplished it like 4 years ahead of time. So they've got a lot to do to let people know Mulan is coming, and that system and that network and that publicity they do, there's no reason for them to not continue and do another title like that. For example, Trolls World Tour, which is a Trolls sequel, did about $100 million plus PVOD. That is premium video on demand, which basically means it's available in video demand for individual transactions for people to purchase it and rent it, usually for 48 hours. They charge $20 for 48 hours. Mulan will probably be $30 for also 48 hours. But $30 is kind of a lot, but they obviously think they can get it. Disney is always more expensive. They've always got premium pricing on everything. And with the PVOD terms, they actually capture 80% of the revenue generated, which is a much bigger percentage than they get normally through distribution through theaters. Also, they haven't started promoting Mulan with advertising yet. Who knows what they're going to do? But generally, the advertising budget can be as much as the production budget on a movie. They may not need to make it an event on Disney Plus. They may not need to spend that kind of money promoting it. So with Mulan, they're claiming it's a one-off, that they're just doing it once. But they're setting everything up to basically have this be a regular channel. Now, no one in the United States had the guts to tell Disney, hey, none of the movie theaters were able to stand up and say, hey, we don't agree with this. And in the UK, cinema owners, of course, this is coming from Deadline, said, hey, we're blindsided by your Mulan decision. It's an FU to exhibitors. So that's rough talk. In the UK, I guess they're a tough bunch. In the United States, they don't talk tough to Disney. Why not? Well, they could. But here's the thing. While theater owners did talk tough to Universal, and they told Universal, hey, after this Trolls movie, they were like, listen, we are not going to distribute any new Universal movies, so good luck with your video on demand. We are not taking any new Universal movies. However, a couple months later, they've now since made a deal, at least the number one theater chain, AMC, has made a deal with Universal to share some of the revenue, and they're going to kind of collaborate and figure out, okay, well, what movies does this make sense with? we'll give you back a certain percentage to the movie theaters so they can kind of coordinate and cooperate in the promotion. But not all movie theater chains are happy with it. The number 2 theater chain, Cinemark, is like, no way, we're not part of this. So they'll fight it out. But why does Universal even have, arguments with people? But like Disney, it doesn't even have to like snap their fingers, and basically no one of any note. It's unfortunate for the UK cinema owners. They don't have any leverage with Disney. They don't have any way to say, hey, listen, if you don't do what we say, we're going to not carry Disney movies. Why? Because Disney is freaking enormous. And this is something that it just happens in business. When you are the biggest, when you have scale, and you have at least perceived quality, reasonably good quality, you can call the shots, and Disney's doing it. Disney accounts for nearly 40% of U.S. box office for 2019. They've done around 33.1% through their Disney labels and their Disney brands, including Marvel. And after they acquired Fox, now they control another 4.9% of the market. So it's really it's 38%, nearly 40% of the entire film market. There is no theater chain that can say to Disney, okay, we're going to refuse to show Disney movies. They can't. How could they do that? If they did, a lot of them are closed right now, but they'd have nothing to open up back to. They'd have no product. So the theaters really have no control and no leverage over Disney. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens when companies get too big. So going back to the article, keeping in mind here that this statement flies directly in the face of what Disney CEO Bob Chapek just stated earlier. He just said this, that Mulan's debut on Disney Plus is a one-off exercise. So this is what he says. We're very pleased to bring Mulan to the consumer base who has been waiting for it. We're fortunate we have the opportunity to bring it to our own direct-to-consumer platform, but we're looking at Mulan as a one-off. We're looking at it as a one-off. That said, we find it interesting to be able to take a new offering to consumers and learn from it. Seeing the uptake of subscribers plus the number of transactions we get on the platform of that premium VOD offering. So what he's saying is like, hey, we're going to sell this movie. We're going to get a lot of signups on our Disney Plus subscription service, which is absolutely crucial to them. They have 60 million. They want more. It's Disney. So they always want more. They want to be number one. Netflix is much bigger than they are. Netflix is like 200 million. However, they're freaking Disney. So they're pretty good at leveraging what it is that they have. And they're very aggressive. They're like monstrous. He's kind of putting the warning out even in his statement saying, well, however, I mean, it's interesting to look at it. So while Chapek seems to be implying that Disney's interest in Mulan's performance on Disney Plus will be purely academic, it makes sense that such a major departure from tradition as releasing a big budget movie online instead of in theaters would not have been undertaken without there being at least some expectation that more films would be released in a similar manner if the earnings prove sizable enough. And it's not even just about the earnings. It's also about getting people to that direct-to-consumer platform. Not having to spend as much to promote blockbuster releases. Understanding the business model and understanding like, okay, we can generate on a typical Disney-ish blockbuster, whatever they're going to generate PVOD, $200 million, $150 million. Who the heck knows? Who the heck knows? There's another big consideration too. With all the movie theaters kind of being shut down right now, how do they create an event? How do they have a big opening weekend? The only way for them to have a big opening weekend on anything for the foreseeable future until all the theaters are back open is to do a massive PVOD launch. And obviously, if Trolls World Tour can pull $100 million, Disney can pull something north of that, you would think. It's got to be bigger. What this means is that much like the release of Tenet in theaters is being treated as a litmus test for all future theatrical releases by Hollywood, Disney is treating the PVOD release of Mulan as a litmus test for many other major movies sitting currently in their backlog, from Black Widow to New Mutants. Expect Black Widow to come PVOD. There's no way. There's no way they're not doing that. While comic book movie fans have long been clamoring for Disney to release both movies on VOD already, it rests with the general audiences to pay Disney enough money to watch Mulan to convince the Mouse Empire that a VOD release can replace a full theatrical release for big budget films. And it doesn't need to replace a full theatrical release. It doesn't. Assuming this, for example, let's say Black Widow does 200 million PVOD, in the first couple of weeks. They get 80% to 100% of that. And now they haven't announced that I've seen whether or not they're going to make it available. Like Trolls World Tour was available on Apple platforms and other PVOD platforms where they got 80%. In Disney's case, they'll get 100%. So when they do it through Disney Plus, through other outlets, they'll get at least 80%. Because it's Disney, they'll probably get 85%. Somehow Disney always, because of their size, they're always getting more percentages than everybody else. So they don't need to have the same size success as a movie theater launch. They don't have to share the money as much. Also, they probably don't have to promote as much, as I was saying earlier. Also, they're going to get signups that they didn't have before on their platform for Disney Plus. So getting people just to even sign up. They could offer Black Widow for free on Disney Plus if you sign up for a year or something. They won't do that. They'll charge for it anyway. But they've got all sorts of ways of making money. And just expect it. Really expect them to get, maybe 5 million signups, just from doing a couple of these direct releases. That saves them 3 to 6 months of what their plan is in terms of their growth model for what they want for Disney Plus. Right now, the New Mutants is planning an exclusive theatrical engagement starting August 28th, but not PVOD. Theatrical. We'll see. Black Widow is sticking to its November 6th theatrical window, and it's known that it will not debut exclusively on PVOD or Disney Plus, and at least not right away, right? That could all change. It's going to. But for now, it appears that Disney wants to keep its Marvel characters premiering on the big screen. Of course, as we've seen plenty of times this summer, these plans could change at any minute. Yeah, the Mulan thing was incredibly sudden. It was just it seemed like they just wanted to have it to announce, to create the impression of there being opportunity while the theaters were closed when they did their earnings call. So the timing for them was really to have something cool to announce or to show potential and tie it in with the success, because it's a big success of Disney Plus during their earnings call. On that front, there's already some resistance on social media against the $30 price tag attached to viewing Mulan, aside from having to sign up for a Disney Plus subscription. Keep in mind, $30, it's a lot of money to watch a movie like this, but going to the movies ain't cheap either. And if you have a family, mom, dad, and 2 kids, by the time you're done, it's more than $30. The fact is, the original animation Mulan was nowhere near as popular as Disney's Lion King. Very true. Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast. So interest in the live-action adaptation is also correspondingly lower. The live-action Mulan will have to stand largely on its own feet instead of relying on nostalgia in order to generate positive word of mouth and bring in money for the studio. But it's an event. That's the main thing. It's an event. It's something special. So there's no way to do that in theaters right now. Everything is depressing in theaters, unfortunately. But you can do it on Disney Plus, and you can tie it to the success of Disney Plus. They're not bad business people over there. They're pretty sharp. They know how to exploit, and they will. Now, just taking a quick look at this. This is what some fans have been saying. I thought this was pretty interesting. I hope the Mulan thing goes well and it convinces Marvel to release Black Widow on Disney Plus. Reads one tweet echoing many others with their opinions. If it means new Marvel content, I'd pay for it. Another says, other reactions on Twitter share these sentiments, with some fans balking at paying the $30 for Mulan, but noting that have no trouble spending that much or more for Black Widow. Wow. With one fan honestly tweeting, I would watch Black Widow for $30, not Mulan. Sorry, I guess. Yeah, not all fans were for it. But it's pretty damned interesting. It's pretty damned interesting. And another thing is, Disney is like crazy for data, and they're soaking up data. So they know who's watching the movies. They know how to make additional product offerings out of their data, whether it's additional movies to watch on Disney Plus, or they can certainly assume that if you would watch Mulan, of course you'd watch Black Widow. There's a lot that they can do with that data and with all that info and building up the Disney Plus subscription service. I think it's also interesting to know Disney's stock right now, even though they just announced a $4.7 billion quarterly loss, because, and whatever it was, 3.5 billion of that was tied to the theme parks. It's interesting that their stock, after this announcement and the announcement of Mulan and the announcement of the success of Disney Plus, is now at $129.89 while I'm doing this. It hasn't been that high since February. So they announced a $4.9 billion loss, plus Mulan is coming out at $30 a pop through Disney Plus in a couple months. And now their stock is up. Now their stock is up $10 billion from a couple of days ago. So it's looking favorable to them. Their stock is up now 10% since their announcement, as new streaming push prompts a pair of upgrades. When I say pair of upgrades, they're talking about analysts upgrading the stock, saying, yeah, this is going to be successful. Nothing is too big to fail, but Disney kind of looks a little bit too big to fail. We'll see how the video on demand goes, but there's no time like right now for Disney to leverage and control their theater relationships by saying, listen, we're doing this. Anybody wants to complain, just let us know. You'll get no more Disney movies. And immediately they're out of business. There's nothing they can do. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's a huge help to me. Click the bell for notifications. Again, you can support my work at collegeofthedead.com. Link is in the description. Where college costs you an arm and a leg. It's an ongoing zombie apocalypse series. And sign up at epicmermaids.com. You will get an email where you'll be able to know when the book's coming out. It's not released yet. It'll be released soon. It's a beautiful full-color ongoing series. It's like Game of Thrones with mermaids. It's really well written. It's very well developed. I think you will like it. All right, I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.